On our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today TV just after 9 a.m. and we're here to get you ahead of the curve as markets kick off trading for the day. Let's take a look at what's hot in the corporate and financial space this morning. All eyes on the two-day meet of the US Fed Reserve. The US Central Bank is expected to cut rates after 9 months of holding them steady. Stock markets are taking their cue from this expectation. Asian markets track gains from Wall Street. Indian markets expected to continue their rally. SEBI makes it easier for sovereign-backed and overseas retail funds to invest in Indian stocks. Nearly two-thirds of foreign investors who have pulled out nearly $12 billion this year are expected to benefit. We'll find out from our analysts if this will stem the outflow. UBS ramps up its gold price outlook, raises the year-end forecast to $3,800 per ounce from $3,500. The Swiss bank cites geopolitical risks, the much-anticipated Fed rate cuts, and buying by global central banks for the price optimism. Gold expected to reach a new record high on Diwali. Big cut in drug prices likely from next Monday. Pharma companies asked to ensure the benefit of GST cut is passed on to customers immediately. 36 life-saving drugs are now GST exempt, while the tax on all other drugs and medicines has been reduced to 5% from 12%. A big positive for companies in the white goods sector. The government reopens the application window for the PLI scheme on air conditioners and LED lights. Applications will now be accepted until the 14th of October. Financial assistance of more than 6,000 crore rupees available till March 2029. All right, let's take a look at the trade setup this morning. Overnight Q this morning, but definitely continuing to hold fort as we count down to the Fed meet. There you have it, Hang Seng up about 0.5% as with the Kospi. Let me bring in my colleague Shailendra Bhatnagar, Chief Analyst and Editor of Markets at Business Today. Shailendra, tell us what the trade setup's looking like to you this morning.
A very good morning, Aabha. We start a fresh fortnight on Dalal Street with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of strength. Remember, India beating Pakistan in the Asia Cup yesterday. I'm sure that momentum is going to flow into the markets today. Let's start with our favorite index, Nifty. 2 straight weeks of gains. 373 points the previous week and 314 in the week before that. So 2 weeks of gains, that's 2.8%. We are moving ahead as far as markets are concerned. Remember, Thursday and Friday, I had mentioned to you that I hope we'll close above 25,000. That has happened. Now we are looking at 25,246. That is going to be the highest since July 21st. So that rally should continue. GST rate cuts, interest rate cuts, as also a good monsoon will fuel this rally. IT stocks are something to look forward to. Last week's rally into IT was a 4.2% uptick, and that's likely to continue, Aabha.
Okay, great. So, Shail, let's take this one by one. We're looking at the index, we're looking at the factors at play, and clearly the Fed meet midweek is going to be critical. So when we're taking a look at how perhaps we're expecting the index to move over the course of the week now, give us an indication in terms of what the markets may have priced in with regards to a positive move by the Fed, which is clearly what they're anticipating.
Yes, Aabha. I think we've had a 14-15-day rally in gold prices. You also mentioned a UBS report. A lot of money has to move out of gold and silver. People have made tons and tons of it, and that has to flow into equity because money is finite as far as all equity markets are concerned. So a risk-on trade is in place. PSU banks, domestic IT stocks like Infosys, TCS, Emphasis in particular, Coforge, Persistent, these are the ones that I'm looking at. And of course, metals, defense. More importantly, look at how there is just a recent block deal that's happened for 29.8 lakh shares for BEL. We'll be discussing HAL a little later. But I feel that broadly, a good bull run is in place as far as markets are concerned. And we look forward to a record high sometime closer to Diwali on the Nifty. Aabha.
All right. It all sounds extremely positive for the moment. We've got a whole host of stocks that are in the news as well. I'll run you through some of those as we're, of course, counting down to market opening. We've also got Jefferies picking HAL as its top pick, as Shell mentioned, and we'll decode that a little further on the show. Yes. But they've given a target of 6,220 on strong growth, strong order flow, and growth guidance as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We've got JP Morgan on Tata Tech. That's an underweight rating coming in there on Tata Tech. Despite some recent acquisitions and so forth, they are expecting revenue to decline at the moment. So that's the rating coming in there. We've also got a few other names like Asian Granito renaming its subsidiary. Ace Software Exports has incorporated a subsidiary in Dubai. So some of those names on the news. SIS Limited has bought a 51% stake in AP Securitas. That's a 73 crore deal coming in for some of these stocks in the broader markets. Indobel Installations has bagged a $1.62 lakh dollar export order from GE Vernova. So keep an eye on that as the markets open, just to see if it's reacting on that front as well. And Asian Energy Services merges with Oil Max Energy. So some merger news coming in there. So lots of stocks and news to continue to track. We've got HSBC on auto. They've actually said naturally that the GST cuts will be boosting those auto stocks as well. They've got a buy on Maruti, a buy on Hyundai. They've also got a buy on TVS, M&M, as well as Arthur. So buys coming in across there from an HSBC on auto. And CLSA on Samvardhana has maintained an outperform rating as well. So let's pull up Samvardhana for you. It's a non-auto segment positioned as a key driver of profitable growth there, with a focus on capital, structure, and business diversification. So that's what they're focusing on when it comes to that stock. Let me also welcome in our guest for the morning in just a couple of moments. But Shell, let's dive deeper on HAL, because that's clearly a stock that you're also picking up buzz on this morning, and take us through some of the factors, whether it be Jefferies or the recent performance we've seen on HAL, that are keeping it in focus this morning.
Yes, Aabha, I think this is a very important development that Jefferies has come out with. You've mentioned the one-year price target, which is at 6,220 rupees. It represents about a 31% uptick from Friday's close. Remember, HAL actually added somewhere like 4.5% all of last week, actually 7% last week, and it has corrected fairly sharply from its all-time high. We've already seen 5,151 somewhere in 16th of May, now somewhere like 47, 45. So a sharp correction has already happened, and Jefferies comes out with a report just at the right juncture, which is a very strong order flow. We've seen Tejas MK1, MK2 order flow, the advanced light helicopter, and Aabha, if you remember, the IAF motto, which is the Indian Air Force motto of Nab Sparsham Deeptam, which is touch the sky with glory. Perhaps that's what Jefferies is looking at. The same, a debt-free company, lot of order flows, very strong growth in revenue, a strong order book for the next 2-3 years, and that's the visibility that Jefferies hopes will start reflecting on HAL's stock price. Aabha.
Great. Avinash Goroshakar also joining us this morning. And Avinash, we're just counting down to open. So first, I'm going to get a quick comment from you on the markets, on the trade setup, on the index, how it's looking to you as we head into a big week.
Yeah, I think, good morning, Aabha. I think my sense is the markets would consolidate. 25,150 is a very crucial data point. Once the markets cross that convincingly, I think you could see a good short-term rally. And I think the good news is that from the US, I think some positive tailwinds are indicating that the trade, tariff war is going to end soon. Possibly October or November, we could get some good news on the import tariff. And that is something the markets would clearly cheer. But I think in the very near term, I think you could really see the markets consolidating, because FIs continue to sell. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, another 10,000 odd crores are going to be raised from the primary markets. So these are data points which could keep the markets on its toes. But net, I think it's a buy on decline market, and I think you could see some good news coming in. Of course, globally, the FI, the Fed rate cut is also going to be very crucial, and the commentary going forward.
Great. We just hit the opening bell. Avinash, a flat start right now. I think markets are just counting down to the Fed meet. Remember, we're anticipating a cut after 9 months, and that's really what markets are hoping for at least. Nifty Bank is just marginally up right now. Nifty IT down about 0.3%. Let's pull up some of those movers and see where the action's coming in. Auto continues to remain steady. A lot of buy calls continue to coming in there. Let's see what else is driving the index. Zomato up about 1%. BEL, Apollo Hospitals, some of the stocks that are moving this morning right now. We've got Hero Moto, Bajaj Auto, so the two-wheelers are continuing to look positive. Apollo Hospitals is setting up a 573 crore oncology facility in Gurugram, so that's also in the news. JBM Auto again, that stock's also moving and looking good right now this morning. Let's take a look on the downside, what's keeping pressure on the index as well. Let's pull up some of those names for you and take a look. And there you have it. Dr. Reddy's, Infosys, so a slight mix of pharma and IT. I think that's really where a little bit of the pressure is coming from. So GST news not really moving markets, perhaps already factored in, and IT taking a bit of a breather. We did see a little bit of action there last week. Avinash, what's your view on IT? Last week we had all this buzz around the Infi buyback and really, how perhaps some of the managements were trying to take back control and reassure the markets of value in some of these IT majors. Some people were picking alternative plays in the tech pack. What's your view when it comes to the IT segment?
Now, we are structurally positive on the IT sector because, first of all, I think the worst seems to have been discounted in the price. And most importantly, any good news from the US is going to be a trigger point. My sense is the October to March period is anyway a more remunerative period for IT companies. And I think I was reading some notes where I was seeing that now the next trigger for most of the large IT companies could come in from AI. A lot of development has happened. And I think the Indian government is also encouraging artificial intelligence. So I think you could see a lot of business coming in, not only from the domestic markets, but globally also. I think from October onwards, most of the US companies are likely to increase their order kind of, traction. So net, I think something like an Infosys, which has announced a very attractive buyback, TCS, Persistent, KPIT, if the market is correcting today, I think investors should make a slight kind of, buy the dip, because clearly the January to March quarter is going to be quite strong. And hopefully the currency remains stable. I think that would also aid to the earnings factor going forward.
All right, Share, let me come across to you. What else is catching your eye on opening this morning?
I think Aabha, one stock, Adani Power. Remember, we had discussed this last week because of the 5-for-1 stock split that the company had announced, and it's just running away in trade as far as prices are concerned. That is one thing that I'm looking at. Broader markets are doing extremely well, and you have a very strong move coming into the market as far as prices are concerned. Look at Anant Raj, look at Garden Reach, look at the entire defense play. This is doing extremely well in the market. These are beaten down counters, and they should do well. So Adani Power, the defense shipbuilders, in terms of railway stocks, I'm looking at HBL engines hitting a record high. And of course, you have a very, very strong move coming into Bombay Stock Exchange. HAL, I had mentioned, 1.5% higher. Garden Reach, 1.1% higher. Adani Power now 2.5% higher. Mazgaon, Cochin Shipbuilders, BEL, all in top shape. Aabha, all in all, a very good start for the market on this Monday. Broadly, Nifty in a bit of profit booking, IT index in a bit of profit booking, but all's well on the Lal Street. Aabha.
All right. Always good to hear that reassurance, Shell. In fact, Adani Power has also signed a 25-year PSA with Bihar. That's for a 2,400 megawatt supply. So also in the news on the back of that. Dhananjay Sinha is also joining us, CEO and co-head of equities and head of research strategy at Systematics. Dhananjay, good morning.
Good morning.
Want to come to I know you've been braving the Bombay rains and traffic, so thanks for joining us. Yeah. Dhananjay, before I get to the overall setup, actually, since we were discussing some of these stocks and themes, I wanted to get your view on HAL, if you're able to share, and if it's something you've looked at recently. Strong views also coming in from brokerages, Jefferies in particular, on its growth guidance, order book. How's that particular stock or some of these themes looking to you?
So I think we have been positive about the defense space. And I think with the whole geopolitical landscape that is emerging, I think more and more emphasis on defense space has been there, and I think India has been focusing on more indigenization, and HAL, BEL, etc. Companies have been gaining out of it, and we have also seen significant sort of ramp up as far as exports are concerned. So I think all in all, in the current context, it does look like the whole defense pack will actually do very well. I think it is a global theme that is emerging after the recent correction. I think we do have an overweight situation or sort of allocation as far as defense is concerned. We are benchmarked to Nifty, so we have a couple of stocks, BEL and HAL, two stocks that we have more positive view on.
All right. Let me also bring up railway stocks. Shell, in fact, let me come across to you because you're tracking something there in terms of some amount of demand coming back for those railway stocks.
Absolutely, Aabha. I think it's again deep value that's attracting traders, speculators, investors alike into the railway space. I track somewhere like 28 railway stocks out of 28. 27 are in the green, led by the entire pack of PSU railway stocks. Railtel up 6.5%, RVNL up 4%, IRCON adding 5%, Rides up 2.4%. So it's a rally across the board, and this is something to be looked forward to because most of these stocks have corrected anywhere between 30 to 40% from their most recent peak. Aabha.
Okay. Great. So, sticking with that theme, Avinash, coming back to you, because you were also talking about perhaps areas one could buy in on dips. Where else are you finding deep value in the markets? Avinash, I think you're on mute. We still can't hear you. Let me give you a minute to fix that. In the meanwhile, I'm going to come back to that question with Avinash. But Dhananjay, we were looking at some of the SEBI news to sort of soothe things and attract foreign investors back into the markets. We've seen all that outflow come, and do you feel that that's something that's going to really help to stem the outflow? Are you positive on the domestic momentum? We're tracking potentially, a new high by Diwali. Markets have been looking intact. Is the domestic demand scenario also picking up, according to you?
You mean the domestic investment demand or the economic?
Yes, both actually.
Okay, as far as FII flows are concerned, I think there has been a very lackluster sort of participation. I think even after the S&P upgrade that India has actually received, the FPI flow has been not very enthusiastic. So I think largely it has been a domestic flow market, and I think that is holding on. There's a certain amount of moderation, but it is actually resilient. So I think the domestic flows will determine what the market scenario would be. I think if you look at the market, I think there is a sort of a rotation that has been happening. I think after the GST news, I think it is actually percolating onto other segments, and we have seen consumption plays, auto plays, etc. Now it is getting into defense and other, non-conventional energy, etc. So I think that is how the rotation is happening. More domestic sort of dominance might actually continue as in my expectation. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. And that's definitely a theme we want to go deeper in, over the next few days on the show as well. Let's also pull up Bajaj Finance for you. Apparently, it's at a record high. And Shail, if you have the charts in front of you, maybe you could tell us a little bit about, where Bajaj Finance is placed currently, what the valuations are looking like.
Aabha, I think this is the best stock to look at if you want to play the GST theme, you want to play the good monsoon theme, and you want to play how income taxes have put in more money in the hands of potential buyers. So India's largest NBFC by any measure, whether it's AUM, whether it's reach, Bajaj Finance is a Nifty stock, a record high today, 1010. And it is the best play if you want to look at consumer demand, if you want to look at car financing, if you want to look at how two-wheelers will be bought post-monsoon. It just proves the point that the market is now looking at a consumerist-led boom, and the best way to play it is via this NBFC, which is Bajaj Finance.
Okay.
Aabha.
All right, Avinash, one last comment from you. We're almost out of time on the show. We've been discussing a whole host of themes, whether it's defense, railways, consumer, Bajaj Finance. Where are you finding a good, attractive value investment in the market right now?
I think one sector, Aabha, which we are very positive is the auto and the auto component sector. Our sense is that GST impact would benefit, auto component players like Uno Minda, typically companies like Jai Bharat Maruti, and obviously, large players like even Bharat Forge. So I think companies which have got a large domestic focus, a good order book, could definitely get good traction once the automobile sector benefits. But I think within the frontline autos, we are positive on M&M and Ashok Leyland. We feel that a stronger second half is very much evident, and I think any dip in the market should be used to accumulate these stocks.
All right, wonderful. Dhananjay, Avinash, thank you both for joining us and for sharing some of your strategies with us as well. Great having you on the show. Shell, thanks again for highlighting some of those stocks in focus. That's a wrap from us this morning. Thanks for watching.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
ये आपकी रक्षा के लिए और ये आपकी रक्षा के लिए।
अरे ये क्या है?
ये आपकी रक्षा के लिए और ये घर की रक्षा के लिए।
न जले न पिघले, घर घर को सेफ बनाएं। अपार अनुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर।
मंगलदीप, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
मंगलदीप धूप कोन्स 2 गुनी खुशबू के साथ दे पूजा का बेहतर अनुभव।
Hello Moto, do the Moto Moto.
Moto G96 5G segments undisputed all-rounder.
मंगलदीप, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
मंगलदीप धूप कोन्स 2 गुनी खुशबू के साथ दे पूजा का बेहतर अनुभव।
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
Hi, here are the top headlines. Presented by Motorola. PM Modi attacks Congress for siding with Pakistan over national interests.